What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with a hoot and a holler of a story. I have no clue what I'm going to title this, so I guess you guys will find out when you click the video. I don't even know yet. It's a surprise, everyone. But before I dive into that, I want to mention a couple things. First off, drop a like on this video if you guys do enjoy. Second off, check out all my stuff in the description: Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, second channel. Almost forgot that one. I almost said Instagram again, but I said that already. I'm probably going live on Twitch this afternoon. I'm starting to stream daily or bi-daily. So if you guys want to see me chill out, live stream some games, I'm getting a webcam soon, so I'm probably going to be doing some face cam stuff potentially on there. Then hit up my Twitch, slide on the stream. It's lit. I stream a lot. But anyways, hope you guys do enjoy this video. And without further ado, let's dive into it. So, normally this is the part where I say the title and then dive into it, but I don't know what the fuck I'm going to title this. So we're just going to get into it. So this was one of the craziest blunts I've ever smoked. And I'm pretty sure I've, mentioned this in a video a couple times, but never fully dove into it. So I had a buddy of mine named Chris. You guys are probably very familiar with Chris if you've watched a good amount of my storytime videos. And Chris is the best blunt roller I've ever met. One of the best I've ever seen. This guy is insane. Like, I don't know how he rolls the blunts he does. He can, if you have an idea for a blunt, it's almost like going to a custom jeweler, like a tattoo artist. Like, you have an idea for a blunt, you go lay it out to Chris and he'll do it. There's been very few times where we've had ideas for blunts where this guy couldn't roll it. So whenever I was with him, he would always roll. Even the normal blunts, just the single, one blunt, I'd still let him roll it over myself just because I knew this guy would pearl every single blunt. And he was a fucking artist. And my phone's ringing. I don't know why. We're just going to not accept that call. Deuces. But anyways, so on this particular day, we had a good amount of weed. I'd picked up about a zip, and my buddy came over with a half-o, and we were all sitting there, and we just wanted to smoke a lot because, I'm terribly impulsive. My impulse control is absolutely awful. So, if I have a lot of a drug, I will do a lot of a drug. I can't fucking control myself with very many drugs. There's a few that I could, like acid. If I had 30 hits, I wouldn't fucking drop a bunch. I'd still only drop like one or two. But normally, with drugs I really, really liked on a daily basis, like weed and liquor and things like that, back when I was a drinker, I would always go overboard. And this is a prime example of that. So, we had about a zip and a half, and we decided we wanted to roll some dumb shit. And we really liked extendos. There was originally, it was three of us who were there on this blunt. It was me, Chris, and my bud who we're going to call Ned. Ned's a name I don't think I've ever used before, so we're going to call him Ned. So me, Chris, and Ned, I can't talk today. We're all sitting around trying to figure out what we should do. And we had some regular blunt wraps. We didn't have any extendos or woods or games or anything like that, just some Swisher Sweets. And we decided that we wanted to smoke an extendo. So Chris goes and rolls up the extendo. He takes the two Swisher papers, and it's kind of harder if you don't have the actual extendo papers because you have to combine the two. It's almost like surgery, You have to combine the two papers and, smooth them down, get them together, get them to stick so they don't actually fall apart, and so it's not flimsy. It's a difficult process. I've tried to do it. I've never successfully done it. I always have to use the extendo papers, but Chris is a fucking artist. So he rolls the extendo, and we pack it up. And we haven't finished rolling it. It's still open. We're just sprinkling the weed in it. We ground it up. He had this nice little metal grinder. And there was maybe, I want to say 2.5 grams in this extendo. Not the fattest thing in the world, but a good amount. On 3 heads, we'll get stoned. And we're looking at it, and we're like, well, we're going to want to smoke more. We're going to want to smoke a blunt right after this thing's done. So why don't we roll another extendo? So Chris busts out the papers again. I give him the swishers. I was always the swisher guy. Whenever, we'd have a smoke sesh, I was always the guy who brought the swishers. I was just the clutch player in the team. I was a team player. So, I threw my swishers in. I threw my weed in. Ned threw his weed in. Chris was the roller. I don't think Chris had any bud at this point, but he's my homie. It was kind of like some friend groups, they all remember when someone smokes the other up and they owe each other. I had a group of homies who I used to smoke with who love him to death, but it was kind of annoying how if they smoked you up, then they'd remember it. And they'd be like, bro, you owe me. I'm not smoking you up this time, bro. I smoked you up last time. Just share the love. Just share the weed, don't be like that, It's fucking weed, dude. You paid $10 for it. It doesn't matter. Just smoke, But Anyways, and on top of that, it's like, what's your homie hitting the blunt with you gonna do? Like, you're still gonna get high as fuck, so whatever. Might as well have fun with your friend, you know? But either way, help out a struggling homie. Pro tip right there. But anyways, so Chris rolls up this second extendo, and he hasn't rolled it yet. He's just got it gutted. He's got the papers together, and we put the weed in it, and we look. And I say to Chris, I'm like, why don't we combine those and make a mega extendo? And Chris just looks at me and he busts out this smile. Whenever I suggest some dumb shit where we're gonna smoke a lot of fucking weed, this guy always gives me this look, this like smile of just like, this is gonna be fun, you know, like this smile of just like, hell yeah, you know, and Ned's sitting there and Ned's just like, that's an incredible idea. So we did it. Chris, it took us forever to roll this thing. What we did was we had to take all the weed back out. We dumped all the weed out on the table. And we had to combine the two extendo papers together. So we combined them together. And before we put any weed in it, we had to keep Chris had to keep smoothing it out and holding it up and making sure it wasn't like flimsy or anything like that. And we had to keep doing that. We had to keep just holding it up, you know, lighting the bottom. He had to keep licking it, just making sure it was nice and firm. And it took us like an hour to roll this thing. You know, it took us a long time because we had to perfect this. You know, the putting the papers together and rolling the two extendos wasn't the hard part. The hard part came when we put the weed in and then Chris had to actually tuck and roll it. I had to come hold one end while he tucked the other to make sure no weed came out the other end or it tipped weird. So I was kind of holding that end really delicately. Chris was tucking and rolling one end, and we'd make our way down to the middle, or he would make his way down to the middle, because that's kind of weird if two dudes roll the same blunt, you're both licking on it. That's like secondhand homo, and I don't swing that way, so fuck that. But nothing wrong with being gay. I don't swing that way. I'm not licking my homie's blunt, you know? So anyways, so, you know, he's rolling the thing, I'm holding it, and this is a fucking art, dude. This is some of the most difficult stuff I've ever done. Like, this really took precision and patience, and weed kept falling out. We kept stuffing it back in, trying as hard as we could. And finally, after maybe an hour and a half, it took us a while, we finally got this thing rolled. It was 4 blunts long, okay? 4 regular swishers long, about give or take 5 grams in it. It was a nice blunt. It looked good. It looked nice. And around the middle, we took an extra paper and rolled it around the paper in the middle, just to make sure it was firm, because in the middle it was a little bit flimsy, but we wanted it to kind of hold up like a boomerang, and we got it. Eventually we got it perfect, and you could hold it up on the tip of your fingers just like a regular blunt and it would not bend somehow. You know, we pearled this thing. Chris really rolled it perfectly. So, you know, we're sitting there and we spark the blunt, right? We spark it in his garage, or we're about to spark it. We hadn't sparked it yet, and we're like, wait, we should hotbox this thing. You know, that sounds like a good fucking idea. Now, this thing barely fit in the car. You know, we all agreed to hotbox it. So this was back when I had my Honda, way back, that 2-door Honda. If you guys remember when I crashed it, this was a long time ago. So we all got in my car, Ned sitting in back. I let Chris drive because I wanted to sit shotgun, excuse me. Fuck, I can't speak today. Because, I don't know, sometimes I would just let my homies drive my car because I wasn't feeling it, you know? So I'm sitting shotgun, and Chris is like, you do the honors, my dude. Go ahead and spark it. And I was like, oh, you're the man. Thank you for letting me spark this. So I had to hold it with 2 hands, and Chris had to spark it for me because I couldn't reach that far. And I had to push my seat all the way back and basically lay down on it to smoke this blunt. And what we had to do was we got to our little classic hotbox spot, which was, we had a couple different spots during this thing, because this thing smoked for an hour and a half. Chris said it was 2 hours. I don't know if it was 2 hours. That might be a stretch. I think it was an hour and a half, give or take. This thing smoked for a long fucking time, and we had more blunts with it. We also had a couple blunts that were just single, regular, pre-rolled blunts that we brought with. So after we finished smoking this thing, we then smoked a couple more. But anyways, so we went and got to our hotbox spot, and the first one we went to, if I remember correctly, I believe it was this little, there's this little unincorporated neighborhood, you know, and for those of you smokers who know all the spots, you know how nice unincorporated neighborhoods are. They're the shit. So there's this one that has super nice houses that are really far apart, and they're still being built. The majority of them are still being built, or they haven't been moved into. So we drive to the end of the street, and there's this dead end, and there's this little dirt path that you can go down that's just covered in trees. You can go into it, but you can't see out of it. You know, no one can see in it. It was perfect. So we pulled onto this little dirt path, and we just stopped. We just parked there because no one was coming down the path. And I sparked the blunt, you know? And I'm laying back. Ned's sitting in the middle in between because Chris had to also lean his seat all the way back so we could smoke this thing. And it was a struggle. This thing barely fit in the car. So we're smacking this blunt. It's a hoot and a holler. And you have to really hit this thing to get the smoke because of how long it is. You know, I'm holding it out and you have to hold it like with two hands, almost like a gun. That's why we ended up naming this thing the assault rifle. You know, we always, whenever we'd roll a blunt that wasn't regular, we would name it. You know, unless it was like an extendo or some dumb shit. But like if we rolled like a dumb fat, you know, double swisher blunt or like a dumb fat, you know, shotgun or something like that, we would name it always. So this one we called the assault rifle. So we're sitting there, we're smoking the assault rifle, and you have to hit it like this. Like I'm going to try to inhale as long as I can. You have to really smack this bitch to get a hit. I was sitting there going, you know, just like a stupid amount of time to even get any smoke into my mouth and into my lungs, you know, and it worked, but it was kind of difficult. But, you know, we could have just torn it in half and smoked two extendos, but that ruins the experience. We wanted to smoke the fucking rifle. You know what I'm talking about? So we're passing it around. We're smoking the rifle. Normally we have a rule where it's 3-hit pass, 2 or 3-hit pass, but at this point, fuck that. You know, we have this massive blunt and more to go. Who cares how much we hit it? Like we said to each other, we were like, just hit it as much as you want, dude. Who fucking cares? Like it doesn't matter. So since the Honda we were in was this tiny little coupe, it got hotboxed fast. And it got to the point where we had to take our shirts off. So like I'm sitting here shirtless. Chris is in like a tank top undershirt or some shit. And Ned's in back. I don't think he took his shirt off. He might have I don't remember exactly, but he was just dripping. We're all sweating. You know, it's hot as fuck in this car. We're not turning the AC on for shit. We're not breaking this hot box. And we're wheezing, we're coughing. Eventually we did break the hot box because there was just no way we could keep it going for this whole fucking time. So, you know, we get maybe a blunt and a half worth like through the extendo, which was 4 blunts total, so almost halfway. And we put it out and decide to switch spots. So we let out the hot box, we take a little break, we drive up to McDonald's and get some cups of water. God bless those free water cups. They're a lifesaver in hot boxes. But anyways, we do that and we go to our next smoke spot, which was behind this church. Now that sounds like a shitty fucking spot. It sounds like a garbage, sketchy spot. And I would always get sketched out when I went there, but I soon learned that it was actually one of the best spots I've ever smoked at because just nobody would come there. Not cops, not people, nothing. I never encountered another person when we were smoking at this church, and we did it all the time. So we were sitting there, we sparked it up again. We still had the blunt and a half, and since like it was out, how we had to do it was we leaned our seats back up and I gave the blunt to Ned in the back seat and he had to hold it. He had to cradle it like a baby almost. It was fucking hilarious. And we had to put it out by like what I had to do was Chris held up my instruction manual, my driver's manual on the car in front of me, and I had to like almost spear the tip of the blunt into the driver's manual. It was fucking hilarious. But anyway, so we put it out, we got the water, and we spark it again at the church. And we're chilling, we're smoking. And then Ned has to go home, maybe 30 minutes later, 45 minutes later. So we're a good way through the blunt. We're definitely over halfway at this point, maybe like a blunt and a half left. And we go drop him off, and this other guy named Josh hits us up. And Josh wants to smoke. He's like, yo, bro, I'll match. Let's smoke. Now, he didn't know that we had this thing. We didn't post any Snapchat stories of it or anything like that because we wanted to keep it on the low. This was our little treat, you know? So we responded to him, and Chris was like, oh, yeah, we'll come pick you up. So we go get Josh. He wasn't that far, maybe like a 5-minute drive. And the blunt is still sparked. At this point, we're driving, we're driving. And what I had to do is like, Chris kind of had to maneuver his way with the blunt because it wasn't as long now. Like it was, you could hold it in one hand and smack it, but like he was also driving. So it was kind of difficult, like when you're driving and hitting a blunt at the same time, it's just a pain in the ass, because then like you forget to smack it because you're focused on the road, or you forget to focus on the road because you're smacking the blunt. It's one of the two things that's a problem. So we go and we drive over, pick up Josh, and we go back to a different spot this time, which is in front of this park, which this spot was terrible. I don't know why we went here, and I'm surprised nobody said anything or caught us, or like 12 didn't show up, but Josh busts out a pack of blunts, and we assume he just had more swishers, and I'm like, nah, bro, we already got blunts rolled. Don't worry about it. And he's like, oh, no, these are pre-rolls. And he busts out 2 more fucking blunts. So we already have our pre-rolls on top of the extendo that we just smoked that we'd brought with. And each of our pre-rolls had a gram in them, and his had, I don't know, something around a gram. We didn't bother asking. Weed is weed. So we finished up our extendo blunt. We let Josh hit it, and we showed him how long it was. We had to like hold it up with our hands, and he didn't believe us. He was like, nah, bro, there's no way you rolled that shit. Like, shut the fuck up. So we FaceTime Ned, and I'm like, Ned, tell this man the blunt we just smoked. And Ned just goes, oh man, you won't believe it, Josh. And he tells him the whole thing, and Josh is just flabbergasted. He's like, fuck, why didn't y'all hit me up? And we were like, sorry, bro, like shit, we didn't think of that. But anyways, we finished the extendo finally. We've been chilling for a little bit, and we spark up a couple of our individual blunts. Josh sparks up one of his, and Chris and I spark up one of our blunts. I say our blunts because it was my weed, but he rolled it, so it was a combined effort. But anyways, so we spark up those blunts, we smoked those, and at this point, we'd smoked like the equivalent of 6 blunts. We'd smoked way too much weed, and I was feeling nice. Like, sometimes you get to the point where you just smoke so much where it doesn't do anything anymore. Like, you're almost smoking yourself sober. That's where I was at this point. I was nice and stoned, but every hit I took didn't do much besides like making me feel happy because I was hitting weed, So we had our 2 blunts left after we smoked those other individuals, and we went back to Chris's house. And Chris's house was the spot. It was the place to smoke at. So we went there, we chilled there for a little bit, smoked our last 2 blunts, matched a couple more bull packs, and I think we rolled another blunt or 2 after that later into the night. And then we dropped Josh off, went back to Chris's house, and I spent the night. I spent the night at Chris's house a pretty good amount, and we would just stay up all night playing Black Ops 3 and smoking. Like, that's what we would do. We'd either play Black Ops 3, UFC, or 2K, and we would just smoke blunts the whole time. It was a hoot and a holler. It was a good time. So this was definitely one of the craziest blunts I've ever smoked. Definitely one of the best blunts I've ever smoked, if not the best, now that I think about it. That blunt was just nuts. But either way, who the fuck is calling me? All right, whatever. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you did. Don't forget to check out my Twitch, my Twitter, my Instagram, all that stuff in the description. And also, I got a new pop filter and a mic stand, so that should help eliminate some of the pops that are in my commentary. So let me know if this sounds any better, any different, or worse to you guys, because I don't know. This is my first video I'm making with this new pop filter and mic stand. So yeah, either way, hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next time. Peace.